Cardinal fans, welcome to Inside the Cardinal Playbook, and we're going to talk a little bit about our last contest against Fort Hays State over at Fort Hays. And Coach, we always, Rick and myself, always rehash like you and the coaching staff and the kids and the parents and everybody. We're not any different than anybody else. But I've been on this bus with you for a while now, and I've seen all the MIAA teams that we played. Yep. I hope the Cardinal fans see the same thing that I've seen through these old eyes, that that's the best we've played in MIAA team. Now, I know we're not into moral victories. No. We're into victories. But I saw a lot of good things. That was a ball game from top to bottom. We'll talk about some things we need to improve on. But overall, I thought it was a good effort by the Cardinals.
Yeah, we felt really good with about 9 minutes left to go in the first half. I think we're up 14-10 and just did some things after that didn't help our cause. And there were some momentum swings that happened and some frustrating things from our standpoint. And from a playing standpoint, there's some areas that we just got to be better, and we've got to be, it sounds cliche at this point because you've heard me say it for 3 weeks in a row now, but the consistency, it's escaping us right now. We'll have one drive or we'll have a 12-play drive. We'll go march it down and stick the ball in the end zone, and we'll come back out the next drive and be 3 and out or throw an interception. And defensively, we'll play two series of 3 and out football, dominant type football, and then we'll have 2 series of we'll miss 8-10 tackles, and the ball goes out the gate, and we allow 2 touchdowns. So, that's the frustration right now is, who are we? Are we this dominant team that we are at times, or are we this other team that, gives up way too many yards and turns the ball over way too much, and, or are we somewhere in between? I'm sure we're somewhere in between that, but, we haven't seen a lot of the in between. It's been great, feast or famine, and that's the emotional roller coaster we're riding right now.
Well, Coach, you and I both know, being a coach all our lives, that you're never as bad as you think you are. Yeah. You're never as good as you think you are.
Absolutely.
That's the fact. That is the truth, and that is really where every team is, no matter who you are and where you're ranked or what your record is. But on a positive note, that first drive was excellent.
Yeah.
Totally excellent. I want to talk. And that's against the best football conference in the country team that plays in that conference, and you just walked right down, and really game plan was excellent and did a great job on that first drive.
We did some really good things in the first quarter and into the second quarter as well, and had some really nice drives, ran the ball well, threw it around well, and again, those things are great, and we gotta be consistent with that, and that was the frustrating part of it, and in all the phases right now, that's our Achilles heel, and we gotta overcome it.
Well, that's the first time really you've had all your starters that you planned on starting on the offensive line.
Yeah, we had
able to play. And I really saw that as a big difference.
That was nice to be able to have those guys up front. Now we were short a couple guys at receiver and a couple guys in the defensive line in some different areas of the field that didn't make the trip, but it was good to have those guys back, that core group that we started the season with, back and healthy up front. And in that process where we've had some injuries up there, some other guys have been able to get some experience. And, Logan Grace came in on Saturday and did some good things in some different situations. And he's creating some more competition there and pushing some other guys that are ahead of him. And the goal is that should make your team better. And so we'll see where that goes.
Well, it definitely helped us. We had another pretty good night offensively, moving the football. We were able to, what I call in and out, run the football inside and out, throw the little short game pass, and we did a nice job of execution. Now, one other kudo I want to say, I know the defense has been taking a lot of heat and really trying to figure out where they're at and who they are. But I think the secondary, here's where I saw a growth in the secondary, and I want you to help me out with this on the show. I thought they did a good job on the bubble screen. screens, split-in screens, jailbreak screens,
Yeah.
all the stuff, different screen game that everybody runs now. We did a better job there of attacking and making a tackle for little or no gain. There was very
Right.
few broken tackles from your secondary people.
Yeah.
I see best in that, and I thought Reiser played one of his better games.
I think
and
he played his best game.
Yeah, and Talley, last 2 weeks, he's been coming. So, those guys in the secondary have been pretty solid back there.
Yeah, you always strive for perfection, and Quinlan was the one that we really saw do some really good things on Saturday. Broke up a lot of balls, had a lot of, really physical, aggressive tackles on the edges, and he missed some too. And if he was sitting here, he'd tell you that there's some of those other plays that he needs to make yet. And Jack's been solid for us all through the year. You kind of know what you're going to get from him week in and week out, and but they'd all sit here and tell you there's things that they can do better as well. And we're going to continue to work on some of those things, some of those other little things this week in the back end.
Well, that'll end the first segment of Inside the Cardinal Playbook, and we'll come back, finish talking a little bit about Fort Hays State, and then we'll talk a little bit about our opponent coming up from State.
If y'all gonna be great on that field, you gotta have a why. You gotta have a reason for why you do what you do. I'm about to come here and blaze y'all. Follow my lead, baby, and we gonna win this thing. What's your why? Why do you wake up in the morning? Why do you put on that jersey? Why do you go out and practice? I ain't about to miss this opportunity.
Welcome back to our next segment of Inside the Cardinal Playbook, and Coach, continue to talk a little bit about Fort Hays State. I want to talk a little bit. We'll start out with our defense. The front seven is really basically young. When we talk about fits, you were talking about tackling and fundamentals. There is a strength factor, and a freshman is not like a senior in college.
Yeah.
Just like a freshman in high school is not like a senior in high school.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a definite difference. For example, I've had people, and I told you this, say, well, good high school teams could probably beat a Division II team. Come on. They obviously don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
There's such a difference of strength and speed. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Just think about maturity from 4 years to another. I mean, you're saying a freshman in high school is going to be the same as a senior in high school from a maturity standpoint, and just physically and mentally and emotionally, all of those things. Same thing when you get to college, because a lot of that change in males happens between that 15 to 21 or so years. So there's a big difference between an 18-year-old, just physically, emotionally, mentally, psychologically, from an 18-year-old and a 22-year-old.
Right.
And, those guys, with where we're at with our team right now, we're trying to intermingle a lot of those 22 and 23-year-old guys with, 21, 22, and 23-year-old guys with 18 and 19-year-olds and try and get them to be a cohesive unit. And
plus the fact you're talking about the freshmen, sophomores, they're getting adjusted to college life.
Yeah. There's a lot of external things there too. But to be honest with you, if we're really looking at it from a standpoint of, where we're at with everything right now, with some of those guys up front, is more of a gap responsibility issue.
Yeah, but that's what I want to talk about. People don't understand.
Yeah, it's
you might
really
want to explain it to the fans, because I think, like at the golf tournament, I had people come up and I said, "What's gap control?" Well, they didn't have a clue what I was.
It's a really a simple game in the standpoint, and this defensive football, you have one player assigned to every gap between every offensive lineman and the next.
Right.
Those are the running lanes. That's where the ball has to go. It can't go through somebody. It's got to go in those gaps.
And it's as simple as this: A gap, B gap, C gap, D gap.
Yeah, all the way out. And so there's somebody assigned to those different gaps, whether it be an on-ball defender as a defensive line or an off-ball defender as a linebacker, or potentially a safety or a corner. Well, when an alignment isn't right in the defensive line, then it can mess it up all the way back. Or if a lineman is right on the defensive line and a linebacker or a safety or a corner doesn't fit the right gap behind it, the open gap, then there's run lanes and seams to run in. And right now it's trying to get right across the board on, okay, this is my gap. This is where I align. This is where I stay until the whistle blows. And what people don't realize, it sounds really simple. It sounds really simple. And it is fairly simple, but when the ball snaps, that gap moves. That gap moves with the play. And you have to be responsive enough as a defensive line, linebacker, safety, or any gap defender to be able to move and mirror with that. And
at a high rate of speed, you have to make decisions quickly.
Right.
And you've also got to determine where the cut's going to be from the back of whoever's running football.
Yeah.
You know, and I said, and correct me if I'm wrong, jump on my wagon here, and I'd be more than happy, but they ran basically 5 running plays against us. And
there wasn't much more than that.
There wasn't much more than that. It was 5 basic plays that they ran against us. But here's what I've been trying to tell people. It's the same 5 basic plays pretty much. They ran that little Covey pitch a little bit more than, but everybody's running the zone read option.
Yeah.
You might want to talk about that because people really, coaches, do not understand the concept of how to defend it.
What happens in any time you run the quarterback in the zone read is what it's been termed.
Right.
Because it's a zone concept, one direction, and the quarterback's going to ride the tailback and read the backside support player, backside defensive end, or an inside linebacker to decide on how that guy plays it. If he's going to hand it off, meaning if he's going to hand it off and that guy sits or stays, that means we've got numbers advantage to this side.
Right.
Or if that guy chases and runs and chases the tailback, does he pull it and become a runner himself off the backside edge?
And this is what quarterbacks are looking at.
Yeah. And what happens when you add the quarterback in as a runner, it adds an extra gap fit to the entire front because when you gap everything out, you don't account for the quarterback. When the quarterback runs the ball, there's an extra gap fit in the front. And because you can gain an extra blocker. Does that make sense? If he's not, you know all this. I know.
But other people said, here's what they asked me.
Yeah.
They ran the same 4 or 5 plays, and I even said it on the air. Yes, they're running the same 4 or 5 plays. Yes, they are. Yeah. But they have a lot of options to those 4 or 5 plays.
So those 4 or 5 plays could become 10 plays with just a handoff or a quarterback option, or if they start motioning a guy or a bubble option, essentially for a pitch. Now those 10 plays become 15 because you have a third option on each play. So, it sounds really simple and precise. There's a lot of variables that go into it, and a lot of for 18 and 19-year-olds sometimes of, okay, well, if this stimulus happens now, what is my stimulus response? And unfortunately, we're not right enough of the time on our stimulus response right now.
Well, what you have a little bit is your front seven's all freshmen and sophomores, and this is happening quickly. Now, in 2 years, they'll understand exactly what's going on, but it happens so much faster than it did on the high school level, at the college level, and then you go from the college level to the pro level, and it's just unbelievable that, people really don't understand. Well, it seems so simple when you're sitting in the stands and you might be criticizing or even saying what's going on.
Right.
I think we needed to take time in this show a little bit to explain to people exactly what is going on. It's not poor preparation, and it's not poor athletes or kids not giving an effort. And that's one thing about your teams. Every game they give an effort. Yeah. It's learning how to play within the game itself and the system. And will they get better? Yeah. The only thing to make you better is experience, period.
And you can reason that as we go through the season here, that should continue to get a little bit better. And it kind of has. Right now, our Achilles heel on defense has been tackling. And, we've talked about it the last couple of weeks, and we've got to be better there. We just have to. That's a core of the game. Blocking and tackling, those two are the core of what this game was built on. And, on the defensive side of the ball, we have to be able to do that. And this isn't just a problem on the defensive line, linebackers, and secondary. This has been a problem for us throughout the season at different areas in the defense. And that's, again, it was something we struggled with last year. And you can say it's because you're playing younger players against older players. That might be some of it, but at the end of the day, that can't be an excuse.
It can't. And I'm not trying to make an excuse for anybody. I'm just trying to explain to the people at home when they come up to me, they're not going to ask you the same questions they ask me. And I understand what's going on, but they don't.
Right.
And I can understand. And they are right.
Yep.
And for those Cardinal fans listening, there were 4 or 5 plays they ran all the time. There's no question about it. Well, we'll come back a little bit in the last segment, and talk about Truman State. They're coming here, and we're going to play at 1 o'clock this coming Saturday. Hopefully we'll see those Cardinal fans. But first time we have another MIAA school coming into our conference, and it'll be interesting to see how that works.
We're Shelter Insurance.
We know you don't stay in business for more than 60 years unless you treat customers right.
We think insurance is better when it relies as much on humanity as it does on technology.
And we know what the weather is like in your area because we live in your area.
Shelter Insurance. For your auto, home, and life. We're your shield. We're your shelter.
Get the insurance coverage you need at the right price. Call Kimberly Sidden today.
Poor Boy Oil Company is and always has been locally owned and operated. We promise convenience and service with small town values. We want you to choose Poor Boy again and again, whether you're looking for a hot cup of coffee to help start your day, grabbing lunch at midday, picking up milk at the end of the day, or heading for a Cardinal game any day. We're here to help you get you on your way quickly. Most stores are open 24 hours, so we're here when you need us. Poor Boy Oil Company. Find us around the Northland, wherever the Cardinals fly.
Welcome back, Cardinal fans, to Inside the Cardinal Playbook. We have our third segment here. We're going to talk to, and the first time I've had the pleasure, I might add, to meet the Miss Lovely Coach Parks. We're going to talk a little bit about the volleyball season and what's transpired. And, Coach, you're in one of the toughest volleyball conferences in the country. Why don't you talk a little bit about your season and where you see it shaping up, and we'll talk about your future games.
We've had the opportunity to play several of the better teams in the conference so far. I mean, it's a tough conference. There's several teams that have been ranked or received votes to be ranked, and we just, got done playing in Indianapolis. We played UND, who were ranked 23rd, and we lost in 5 sets. It was a tough match, but
that's growth because they've got a great program.
They have a very great program, and it just shows you what my girls are capable of. Once we work out all the kinks and we get through things, we're right there, right around the corner.
You bet. Well, that's the way every coach thinks. We've got Rockhurst this week. We've got Quincy and Truman State. I think I'm correct.
Yes.
Coming up. You look at that, preparing your young team for that. That's quite a challenge for you. You were talking about concentrating on the mental portion of the game. Why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Well, I think that through this whole season, that's one of the things is just getting them to play with more consistency and more confidence. They get rattled easily, and when 1 or 2 points don't go our way, or when things aren't going according to game plan, they panic. And so, we've been talking about it, and something we're going to continue to work on and talk about, just playing with more confidence and just being more consistent and not panicking when situations aren't going textbook for us.
You might want to talk a little bit, too, about some of the ladies that you really look for leadership on the team. I know you're young, but you might want to talk about some of the girls that have had some experience. And when you talk about the mental aspect, it's not all the coach teaching the girls how to handle a game situation. It's also a seasoned player that does that as well. Yeah. So you might want to talk about some of those kids.
Yeah, I have 3 great seniors who were voted by their teammates to be the team captains: Kaylin Hyder, Kelsey Moffitt, and Katie Damgar. And they all 3 are on the court a lot, and they show a lot of leadership on and off the court. And, they're frustrated. It's not been the greatest season for their senior year, but they're remaining positive and really, really reaching out to the younger players on the team and trying to just, keep them focused on the next match. And, when you're not winning, sometimes that is hard to do. And they're doing a really great job as far as giving me what I need leadership-wise. And my juniors, Christina Pratt and Libby Orning, are also doing an amazing job, in Leslie Iron. So those 6 are doing a great job. And I have, we have leaders in every class. And I think that it just goes to show how strong this program will be, because this core group has a lot of leadership all the way across the board.
Well, how many young kids are you playing? How many freshmen and sophomore are actually in the rotation? I know that, you get in a situation like this and you're relying on the 3 seniors, like you talked about leadership, and you cover that very well. But talk about some of the younger kids and how you're kind of working them into the lineup.
We're relying on a lot of freshmen and sophomores. We've been moving back and forth, switching the outsides and the right sides back and forth to try to find that combination that's going to work. And in doing that, we are consistently having a freshman outside hitter, and the outside hitter is kind of a go-to person, the outlet. And so
I love volleyball, by the way. Even though I'm a football guy, I love volleyball.
It's a great sport, and so it does put a lot of pressure on that outside hitter. And so we constantly are having We've had Lauren Holmes stepped in and done a great job for us. Destiny Doolin. Marissa Brackman has stepped in and as a freshman and played some great defense in the back row when we've needed to. Libby McMurray. Honestly, all of my freshmen have gotten a lot of looks, especially as we are really like continuing to move the lineup around and make changes to try to just find something that's going to work for us. And then from the sophomores, there's a lot. We rely a lot on Kaylee Marquardt. She's a sophomore. She's doing a lot for us offensively, and she's a great back row player too. Kelsey Wagner, Taylor Williamson. I mean, lots of freshmen and sophomores on the floor. At any given time, we could have up to 4 freshmen and sophomores and maybe a junior or 2 seniors or 2 juniors. So.
And that's what I've been talking to you about too. Like I told you earlier before we got on the air, Rome isn't built in a day. It takes time. And, in a conference that's very, very good in volleyball. It takes a lot of time for those kids to get the experience. And also, you said it best, Coach, chemistry. If I could write a book for all coaches in all sports and really give them the formula for the chemistry to make it click, I'd be a billionaire. And I know that's – so what are some things you're trying to do chemistry-wise? So you said you're making some switches in your lineup. What are some other things you're doing?
We do. And honestly, we just got out of practice. And so we're at practice today. We worked on, just not taking things, I think being overly emotional and taking things personal. Women will be women. And so I think just getting past that mindset that nothing is personal. Everybody is working really hard. I told them today I have never, ever had any issues as far as their work ethic. This team works. They really do. It's about maintaining composure, finding that.
It comes with experience.
Yeah, with experience. And they're young. And honestly, I told them, you're trying too hard to please me. They really don't want to let me down. And they feel like they've let me down. And I told you, I've had losing seasons and I've had winning seasons, and you're definitely not letting me down. I'm proud of them. They're giving me everything that they have, and we're going to keep pushing forward. We will be okay. And it's getting them to believe that we still have half of a season and we can turn it around. And if we don't, we don't. But if their opportunity is there, and they just have to keep focusing on the positive, the next match. We go in, we prepare, and if it doesn't come out the way that we would like without that win, then we have a job to do, and that job is to focus on the next match. And so it's just keeping them positive right now is the most important thing.
Well, Coach, I've heard a lot of positive things about you, and it's been my pleasure to talk to you today on Inside the Cardinal Playbook. Good luck. Good luck this week playing Rockhurst, Quincy, and Truman State. And like I said, one game at a time, improve, and keep positive, and good things will happen to you.
Foreclosure, repossession, garnishment. Costello and Farah can fight for you.
Are creditors threatening to take your property or your money? My office has helped thousands of people in the Kansas City area protect their assets through debt reorganization or bankruptcy protection. Call my office at 816-505-HELP and see if we can help you protect your assets and get you back on your feet.
The attorneys of Costello and Farah, lawyers who will fight for you. Call 816-505-HELP today.
A world without breast cancer is a world with more birthdays. And signing up for the Making Strides Against Breast Cancer Walk will help us get there faster. The American Cancer Society invests in groundbreaking breast cancer research, and we're part of every community. In fact, 1 in 2 women newly diagnosed with breast cancer turns to us for support. Sign up today at makingstrideswalk.org. Together, we can finish the fight against breast cancer.
Coach, we're going to finish talking about Fort Hays State, and let's talk about turnovers. Me and you are just stout on agreeing on that. Talk a little bit about that and talk about your specialty teams and your offense.
Yeah, no, we're -3 again, and that's, never anything that you want to be talking about, because the odds say you're not going to win those games, and we didn't. They're coming in different stretches, in different situations. Throughout the game, we did get some takeaways. We had a nice takeaway in the special teams unit on the first kick with that wind that was blowing, as you call it, the hawk.
The almighty hawk
was rolling on Saturday night, and so we decided to high kick one and make one of those guys up front try and field it, and we're able to get and capitalize on that.
Right.
It was a scoring play. It set up a score inside the 40-yard line, which was good, and so that was good. But we gave it back to them way too many times, and that was a frustrating thing, and continues to be. something we're struggling with, and we've got to get past it. There's some other good stuff that happened there, as we talked about, some of the stuff we were able to do early in the game offensively, and a couple nice drives put together, and the kicking game, there was some good opportunities there. We pinned the ball inside the 10-yard line a couple times on punt, and so there's a lot of good stuff there. There's a couple situations and opportunities we missed. We try for a pseudo onside kick at the beginning of the half because the tackle's playing all the way to the hash and there's nobody outside the hash, and Warren just overhit it just a little bit, and it was just a little bit out of Jack's reach, and we have an opportunity to maybe get a field goal late in the half, and when we shot ourselves in the foot a little bit operationally going into it, we end up getting that back and don't capitalize on the field goal. But there's some other positive things that are going on there in the kicking game right now as well. We got to have our T's crossed and our I's dotted this weekend.
Yeah, talking about this weekend, we got Truman State coming in, a former MIAA team.
Mm-hmm.
Coach Nesbitt's a friend of mine,
Yeah.
Jewell, known a friend of yours.
Yeah.
I know he's a great coach. He won a state
Yeah.
championship down at Columbia Hickman when, back in the day when
Yeah.
we were all young.
Yeah.
Talk about Truman State a little bit. I know they'll be well coached. I mean, you and I both know that. But I want to talk a little bit about what they're going to do offensively, defensively.
Honestly, they're going to be very similar to us. If you look at them offensively, just what they do with, even what we've been doing the last couple of weeks with our quarterbacks. They play a couple different quarterbacks, and they've got a senior and a younger one that they play, and they're a little different dynamic in the two guys. And, formation-wise and some of the other things they do offensively, it's really similar to what we do. And so that'll at least be familiar. Now, we talked about how well coached they are, and they're very disciplined, and they play extremely hard, and
they'll come at you.
They execute well, and those are some of the things. The execution part of it has been our problem up to this point, and so we're going to have to be able to match their execution. From a defensive standpoint against their offense, and then offensively against their defense. Defensively, they're more of a 4-2-5 defensive scheme, which is similar to what we saw last week, honestly, from Fort Hays State. Very similar. There's some nuances in the way they play it differently. This is obviously a very familiar defense to me. This is one I played in college, and then my first 6 or 7 years of coached in it, and it's a good defense, and they've got good players in it, and guys that they've had a chance to work with for the last several years, and they've recruited well, and it'll be a big test for us when they get here on Saturday.
Well, and another great comparison between Truman State and Jewell is great academic schools.
Yeah,
they
absolutely.
are great academic schools. The kids out there all have ACTs and grade point averages.
Yeah, it's Greg, Coach Nesbitt, and I, when we get a chance to talk, which is several times a year, and we talk about the different advantages and disadvantages to recruiting those type of players, and it's a lot more advantages for us because of the intellect that they have and the different things you can do with them.
They understand there's life after football.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a very similar setting for them over there. Different. The only difference would be is we're a private school, state school, and that dynamic from that part of the environment, but academically very strong place over there as well.
You bet. We're going to see a lot of MIAA teams come in the future, so we're progressing where there's more and more. We're going to have probably less teams really that we're not familiar with. So this will be a good test. Give us a good measuring stick of where we're going in the future, and this is the level we're playing at, and everybody will kind of understand. I want to throw in, don't forget the coaches show right after the game at Tanner's. We'll be there usually approximately an hour and 15, 20 minutes after the game. Had a great crew. I hope everybody continues to come over there.
It's been fun.
I really like the ex-players coming over.
Yeah,
that's what I like. How they come in and, hey, coach.
Yeah, homecoming.
It's good stuff.
Yeah, homecoming. There was a lot of former players that played for us here, and some others as well. And so that was good to see. I'm really excited about getting to one of those things after a win.
Yeah.
And because
well, they may have to kick me and you out if we get a win.
Well, at least you for sure.
Yeah, that's a for sure. Yeah. That's a for sure. Well, Coach, hopefully we'll see all the Cardinal fans. We've had great support this year. That's the other thing I want to tell everybody that came over to Fort Hays State. Man, Rick really noticed before the game, right on the 50-yard line, there was a bunch of Cardinal fans in red right in the middle of the field. Mm-hmm. All positive. That first drive, they were going nuts. They really were. And that's what we got to keep doing because we all see growth. We see positive things happen. like I always say, we're on one belt in a day, and we'll continue to try to take the high road and keep going that direction. Be a 1 o'clock start on Saturday. Try to see everybody there. And again, thank you for watching Inside the Cardinal Playbook.